Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. You're tuned into Lightroom Week. This is day 2. Today, Cliff Pickett is going to be talking about the ultimate workflow. Welcome, Cliff. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I know you got a lot to get to. We already got a ton of people waiting. Bated breath. Questions already in the queue. So, Cliff, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll see you at the tail end of this thing for some Q&A.
All right. Thanks for the intro, Derek. The floodgates are open, apparently. Welcome, everybody. I think we had a good turnout in day 1. Looks like we got quite a few more in day 2. So thank you for, spending your time with me this week. We have several more this week to do. So this is day 2. For those that didn't see day 1, we'll put a link under the show notes. I'm sure the team is working on that. That covered an overview and a foundation, right? And I use that word very intentionally, a foundation, because if we're going to build something this week, and you can't build something without a good foundation. Speaking of a good foundation, let me change my camera there. There we go. So we have a good foundation. If you guys haven't seen that already, go back and watch that day 1. I think it's pretty cool. I think you'll get a lot of info out of it. Day 2, today, I want to focus on organization and how to put this into practice. Now that we have the foundation, we need to build our work, and we need to put this thing on autopilot, right? So I covered a little bit of the organization. I'm going to cover that a little bit more this week, or today, and this week as well. But today is going to be like putting this into practice now, showing you what this looks like in practice, getting behind the wheel and driving the car, so to speak. And we can only do that after we have that foundation, right? So last week, the previous session, we covered that. Today, let's just take the training wheels off and get started. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is a core of what I do for my students. And I'm going to give you guys a crash course a little bit about what this looks like, right? Typically it takes me a little bit more to build this out, a little bit more time to build this out for my students when we do this live in the training that we do, the boot camp and everything else. But today we're going to get a crash course, and I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, because it's an absolute game changer. Really, the biggest thing that I see when I first start working with students is this overwhelm, right? I see this like, what do I even do? Like, where do I even start? Where do my photos go? Are they safe? Are they backed up? All that kind of stuff. But it's such a freaking time suck, isn't it? Like, it's just, you feel like you're swimming upstream a little bit, and then you can't find your photos. And then how do I, do I have to plug this drive in? What if all these questions? But I've almost never come across a student that just had this solved. And it's crazy to me because it's solvable. And that's what we're going to cover today. That's what we're going to cover the rest of this week. But it's solved, basically. It's not an issue. Like, this isn't just the way I do things. This is going to be an actual solution for you. And you're going to see what I mean. So rather than me just talk about it, let me share my screen first and foremost. It's a lot better just to show you. But this is going to be fun because this is what I do all the time. And you'll just be able to see this firsthand. All right, so this is day 2. You guys are in the right place. Your workflow on autopilot. We're going to take you from simply just having a foundation and organizing photos to automating the heck out of everything. Like, literally everything we can do to automate it, that's what we're going to cover today. Because your time is the most precious thing that you have. And I deeply respect that. That's why we're here today. All right. If you want to know more, you don't have to worry about slides or anything else, or taking screenshots. Just go to this link. It'll get you access to so many things. It'll get you access to a visual workflow. It'll get you access to like an interactive Lightroom tips and tricks that I have a whole bunch of like notes and slides and everything you want to know. You just type it in, it'll take you right to a page I built for you guys. That's incredibly useful. And then there's a Lightroom cheat sheet. So a lot of what I'm covering today, that's going to be there too. You can also just go to lightroom.university. It'll take you to that same place as well. It's a little foreshadow on what's going to be coming up soon. So don't worry about taking notes. Just follow along, see how this thing all goes, and then tell me what you guys think about this whole thing. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to make this full screen. I'm going to hit this tab over here. I built out, so if this looks a little familiar to you guys, this is what we built. This is the foundation that we built last session. I worked on it a little bit more just to kind of give you a little bit more structure so you guys can see what it looks like as we start to build this together. This is what I do with my students over the boot camp and other things. And I wanted you to see just a little bit more fleshed out, not completely, because I want to work on it with you guys. I want you to see what it looks like when we click on any given year. And a nice little tip, if you hold the Option key, close it, and then open it up, right? We can close all these down. We can open all of them up just like that. And I can do that the same for here too. So we have all the years. I can click on any year and I'll see my favorite images. And I can click on any image. Command L is a shortcut to turn the filter off. And I can see where that one image was taken at any point in the year. Command L is going to bring me right back to that bigger picture, that overview, that bird's eye view. So every year we click on now, we're just going to see our favorite images. And we click on all photographs and we're going to see our favorites across all the years. This is what I mean by going from chaos to clarity. This is what it looks like, right? And I showed you an example, and I'm happy to do it again, of some other catalogs that my students were generous to give to me. But I wanted to do this inside the one that we built last time to show you what this looks like when we have the foundation and then we flesh it out and we build our framework and we have this organized, right? This is what your catalog can and should look like. You click on a year, you can click on any given month, and it's just going to show you the images you want to see again. You'll notice that they're all filtered, right? I could turn that filter off, Command L, turn it back on, and we're good to go. Click on any given day, and I can see everything I did that day. This is a workshop in Norway, right? And here's the thing. When we're done today and anything else that we do in the future, you're not going to have to look for your images. Your images will find you. And that's so key to what I'm going to show you. Because if you have to remember the images to look for, you're never going to remember. So for instance, I can just type in Valley, and I'll see all the pictures from Death Valley. I can type in Norway, and I'll see all my pictures of Norway, right? It's so easy to do, but we're going to go way beyond that. This is just the organization structure. We're going to go beyond that, so your image is going to be able to find you. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I just took a couple of images. We were talking right before this podcast, me and some of the guys at B&H about truck campers. And I was like, you guys got to come out to CES. So I took some shots of the truck camper I have outside. Those of you who know me, we travel all over, we do these workshops. We have this base camp, we call it. Okay, so all I literally need to do when you have this built out is I hit one button, right? That's just going to import. That's it. It automatically gets organized. I'll show you, right? I'll just go to folder and library. And Derek, maybe you can turn, if my camera is on, you can turn it off so people can see more of the screen. I think that's always helpful for people. All right, we'll go to the folder and library. And any folder, well, I'll turn that filter off first. There we go. And it's going to create a folder for any day I want to, basically, right? So we have a parent folder structure in place already. And I can go to any year, I can go to any day, and I can find these images very quickly. Now, I'll take another photo here. So I want to show you how we built this, but I'm going to take another photo. I'm going to put this on my camera. You guys get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of all this. And I'll turn this off. I'll put this back in the camera. Put this back in the computer. And all we have to do is import. Right? That's all we have to do. Now I can set this up to automatically show my pictures. 4 5s, 4 stars, 5 stars, all of that. But it's very easy to do. And then this is the folder. So from here on in, you never need to worry about organizing your pictures again because we have a parent folder. This is what we set up last time. And the computer knows exactly where to put your images. I can do that time and time again. And the computer knows exactly where to put your images. It's that simple, right? So you don't have to choose what folder, what subject matter, because this is what we set up last time. We have our year, month, and day automatically. I can name this, if I want to, something like Vegas. That's all I have to do. I don't have to type Las Vegas, whatever it is. All right, so now we have a little bit of a structure. Every picture you take from here on in, every picture you have shot and ever will, is going to show up exactly where it belongs. You never have to input this again. You never have to choose. because it's decided for you when you press the shutter. As long as you're using a digital camera, it's decided for you. So this is what it looks like to have your images come in one click. So when we do our workshops, I set this up for my students. There's no excuse not to just put your memory card in and just hit the import button. That's all you have to do. Right? So if you hit the import button, I'll do one more and I'm going to walk you through exactly what that looks like. So I'll show you maybe a wider angle or a different angle. You get to see that new microphone. Put this in. Now let me show you what this looks like. Now, I don't even have to touch anything. It's automatically going to launch this import dialog box. Right? So it's going to select my camera. This is the first step here. You're going to notice I have a folder called old photos already imported. We're going to simplify and automate literally everything. Now, and that includes backing your images up. You always want your images in at least 2 places when you're traveling and 3 places ideally. Right? So I don't remove the images on my memory card until I start really running out of space. That's my first backup. I have 2 large 1 terabyte memory cards, and I just have it to overflow. So I carry 2 terabytes in my camera at all times. I have all my backups. So just in case something happens, in case my hard drives fail or whatever it is, I'm not going to carry multiple cards. I'm not going to carry card, storage devices and then worry about which card I'm going to flip them over. And is this one? And then, that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you have to format a card, forget about it. All you really need is a card large enough for the trip you're going to be on until you get home and back it up. But I just keep it with me because it doesn't hurt to do it. There's a great store. It's called B&H where you can buy these large memory cards. They're not very expensive. All right. So it's going to choose its DCIM. Now you could just leave it on there, but as it starts to get, thousands of images, I'll just move them over to this old photographs and it just defaults as DCIM. Next up, we're going to see these new photos. Now, if I click on all photos, you'll see the pictures that I just took literally like right before this. But you'll notice that they're grayed out because I already imported them. That's because I have this check. Don't import suspected duplicates. Right? If I click on new photos, I'm not going to see those old pictures again. Lightroom's going to know exactly what images were already imported. This is also a really important factor why we only want one catalog, right? It's going to know the pictures that I've already imported. Just show me the new ones. If you have a lot, it's going to take like a minute. Just give it a minute. Now, the next up, we have copy or copy and DNG. You'll notice that we can't move, we can't add. That's fine. We don't want to. We don't need to. We're going to copy our images so they stay on our card. We don't need to copy to DNG. There's not really a good enough reason. I kind of like just having the originals. It keeps all the proprietary information, like your focus points, some other areas. It's just not a solid enough argument for me to convert to Adobe DNG, right? So you just copy your images. If it's not a good enough reason to do something, I just prefer not to do it, right? We want more flow and less work in our workflow. So we're going to keep copying. We're going to do new photographs. And on the right-hand side here, these are the decisions that we need to make. I'm going to roll these up so you can see them one by one. File handling. Standard previews is totally fine for most people. What that means is going to build a preview for us, the size of our screen. It's going to know what size of screen it's going to build a preview for the size of the screen. You're never looking at your original pictures. You're just looking at a preview of your picture. That's really important. That's the power of Lightroom, right? I have a 2 megapixel screen. At best, if you're at home and you have a 4K monitor, you have an 8 megapixel screen. You don't need 60 megapixels for an 8 megapixel screen, right? So we have a preview, the size and resolution of our screen. Standard is fine. If you're zooming in and out all the time, that's where you can choose 1:1. For most of us, standard is going to be just fine, right? Don't worry about the embedded in sidecar. Don't worry about minimal either. If you're, I don't know, you're shooting stuff on the red carpet, you're shooting sports, we need to get it out immediately, right? That's where some people use other software like Photo Mechanic or something like that. This does the same thing. It's using the embedded previews in the back of your camera, a little JPEG preview on the back of your camera. It's just embedding that, so it's lightning fast. If you don't have a really, really specific time crunch, though, standard is going to be just fine. It's going to work out for most of you just fine. All right, smart previews. Do we need to build smart previews? For me, I don't need to because I'm holding these images on my internal drive. If you want to use multiple computers, if you have a large drive out at home and you want to take the laptop to the beach, take it out to the coffee shop, work on it without having that drive plugged in, that's where smart previews comes in. I actually do build smart previews for all of my pictures that are not on my internal drive, so I don't have to plug in other drives to access them. And it works perfectly, and it's seamless, and everything is good with the world. until you need to send it outside of this beautiful walled garden we call Lightroom. If you send it to Photoshop, you send it to all these third-party plugins like Topaz, that's where you want the original files, right? So just keep that in mind. I like to keep the originals with me, so I don't need to do the smart previews, but that's why you'd want to consider that. Don't import suspended duplicates. If I don't turn that off, I'm going to keep on importing more and more pictures because I'm not deleting them from my card. So this is paramount that we keep this on the whole time. This is like foundational to the workflow, right? Make sure that that's checked all the time. And what I do for my students is once we set this up, I literally close all these boxes down. So all you're going to do is be able to hit that import button. Now I'm working to find a way if we can just skip that step and have it automatically import. Because literally it's just one click. One click is going to back up, organize, edit, tag the images, back them up in 3 different places, and even post them to collections and be able to share them. It's pretty wild. And even star them so we can rank them depending on how good they look and through aesthetic values in a third-party plugin. I'll show you that in a second. All right, so we have our file handling. That's pretty much good. We can close that up. File renaming, this kind of falls under the category if we don't need to do it, so I'm not going to. There's not really a need to rename your pictures. So we just keep the original file names. It doesn't make sense. When we want to rename our pictures upon export, right? Not upon import. Because if we did it on import and we export image number 37 and 52 and 74, it doesn't make sense to do it that way. So I don't rename it. If we were going to rename it, we want to do something with the date, the original file name and the date, something like this. So it kind of makes sense and it scales. You want the original file name and the date is automated. If I have to enter anything, I'm not doing it. Right? So it's not really that helpful. Apply during import. So this is kind of important. You can, if you wanted to, put in develop settings. I set these up for my students in our boot camp, where we can automate. We have defaults. We could do an Adobe default. We can automate this so it automatically adjusts the photos based upon import. I can show you guys how to do that as well. That's helpful. So we can auto adjust the pictures. And if you have these other adjustments as well, right, just know that you can build your own presets. There's a lot of really cool presets we have in here as well for us. So it's totally up to you whether or not you want to automate the adjustment of the presets. So I'm going to show you how we can do that in one click as well. All right, metadata. This is where you're going to create your own new metadata. We're going to put your information in here. I'm going to skip this step right now. There's more I want to cover. But we roll all these down. We make sure we put our information in, especially on the creator and our contact information. And when you're done, you can save that as a preset. And that gets built in to every picture we take from here on in. It's going to have our information, right? That's really, really important to be able to do. And that's automatic from here on in. Every time you import your photos, you don't have to think about it. Everything I'm going to show you, set it and forget it. We never need to do it more than once, right? So just for instance, I can put in, I don't know, we'll go do content. There's a whole bunch of these that you can put in. I don't really worry about it too much, but you can put your copyright. And I'll say copyrighted. I could say something like all rights reserved and so on. I can put in my information and I'll give you guys a little, I'm not going to put my address in there because that depends on the day. But I'll put my email address in there. All right. And then we can change this, right? Save current settings as a new preset. And we can just put in my name. And there we go. Okay. So we can have that set up from here on in. And that's just going to default to putting my information and all. Keywords, we don't have to worry about. So the last one is just because the keywords, you're going to do that after the fact. And we're going to find a way to automate that away anyway. So last one's destination. And like we did last time, you're going to set up a parent folder. And then you're just going to import to a direct parent folder. It's going to automate the process of putting this year, month, day. You're going to choose this very specific value. Doesn't make sense to do it any other way, right? Because then April would come before January. It doesn't make sense. So we're going to do it by the numbers. We put this in and we hit import. Now this is sticky. It will stay that way from here on in, right? So we're going to import that photo and we're good to go. I can always go to folder and library, and this is just going to show up and we're fine. Now, here's the thing. You're going to notice that this showed up next to the day. If you name the folder before you import all of your pictures, that's going to happen. It's no big deal. You just drag this over into the new one. That's actually a feature, not a bug, because if you work on your images and then you import, or let's say like we work together, we organize all your photos and you find, this has happened a lot, you find an old hard drive, you're like, uh-oh. So you got to import all of your pictures in. It's fine. You point it to your all photographs folder, everything falls into line, and whatever folders you would have named, it's just going to put a new folder right next to it. This way you can work on those images, you can tag them and keyword them and star them, and then just drag them into the new day. If there's no other images in there, when you remove, it's actually going to delete the folder. If there's something else in there that I didn't know about, it'll just remove it from Lightroom. So that's actually kind of a feature. It's not a bug. I kind of like that. All right, so that's what it looks like. And we keep on doing this until we have all of your pictures in one place and it's organized. We never need to choose again, right? And that's the biggest headache I find for a lot of people is like, oh, now I have to do the car photos here. I do my portraits. Here's the thing. It's not about being accurate. It's about being consistent. And that's really key. If we automate it and we have the clock set up on our camera properly, even if it's not, we can shift it. We're in good shape. All right, now you're going to notice that there's some tags on this images here. It's kind of interesting, right? Now, if I click on this map, it's going to bring me to Google Maps. You have to be online for this. And it's just going to show you where you took this picture. But interesting, while it loads, you can see on the right-hand side, it actually gave me the exact address, right? Yeah, it's taking longer to load, but that's fine. You can see it's giving me the exact address. You can also look under metadata, and you're going to see, if I go to, the standard is EXIF and IPTC, but if I go to location, it's going to give me that address. So here's where it gets interesting. We have the automation of our folders because we have to put our images somewhere. Then we have our keywords, right? So every picture you've ever shot and ever will, promise you, is either who you're with, what you're doing, where were you, right? Now the where is starting to be automated if we have GPS built in, right? So the first couple of pictures here are actually paired with my phone to GPS. So it's building in that name for Vegas. So this is where it starts to get interesting, right? I'll show you this, the truck, because the guys were asking about it. This is the truck camper. Can auto adjust this in one click, auto white balance it, shift command U to auto white balance it. That gets automated as well, right? And if I like these photos, I can just say 5 stars. In fact, I can grab both of them, shift command U, auto white balance, auto adjust, we're good to go. So we can automate that as well. Now, if I come down here, we're going to have Vegas. Wait, these images are already in here. And if you click on this little icon here in the bottom right, this is what shows us collections we're in. This is already in a Las Vegas collection. That doesn't happen by default, right? What that's doing is I built these smart collections out that's going to import my pictures with the star that has this word Vegas, right? So what that means is if I'm using, like for Sony, you have the Creators app, for Panasonic, you have their own app. Most of the new cameras have GPS built in. If you're using your phone, when you go to import your pictures, it imports into the parent folder, automates it into the right year, month, and day, auto adjusts it with that setting that I can show you now, right? You can go to presets and you go to manage presets. That's one way you can do it until I customize my own that gets rid of the lens, chromatic aberration, and all of that. But you can just turn on even general, and that gives you access to when you import your photos, it's going to automate the adjustments for you as well. So we can automate the organization, automate the adjustments. Then you're going to notice on the right-hand side where it has keywords. Wait a second, this is keyworded as a vehicle already. I didn't keyword this, right? Last time I was talking about having the structure in place, who you were with, what you were doing, and where were you. But you're going to see a fourth one. This is automated, right? This is how we go from chaos to clarity. This is how we save time. Keywords can be a time suck. And we're at a point, we're in 2025 right now, guys, right? We shouldn't have to manually enter keywords right now. So if I go to architecture, here's all my architecture pictures. I didn't put that in. The software did it. I can type in a drink. I can type in food. I can type in nature, right? Let's find pictures of a beach. Here we go. I didn't type any of these in. So we have to put our images. That's why we have our folders, and we have to find our images somehow. That's why we have our keywords, but we don't need to manually enter them anymore. We're finally at a place where we don't have to enter them manually most of the time. There's a few keywords you might want to enter every now and again that won't know Uncle Harry's retirement party, for instance, but it is going to know it's a beach now. It's going to know it's a sunset. If I type in sunset, right, here we go. Here's all the sunset pictures. We don't have this in anymore, right? So I'm going to get to how we can automate all of these keywords. But let's talk about the collections. We didn't talk about that last time, and I kind of teased it a little bit. This is what you do with your photos. This is the purpose. You'll see when I look at my collections down here, I'm going to skip over this Automagic for a second. I think it's going to be pretty cool. But the collections are based upon a purpose for your photos. You don't put in a collection unless you have a purpose, and that purpose is some form of sharing. So this is what I built out between last session and this one, just to give you a framework and understanding what this looks like for the students I work with. We have social. Well, that's kind of interesting. We have portfolio. And you'll notice that these are smart collections, right? I'll get to that in a second. But we have stars, which are going to show us all the pictures of different stars, right? Here's all the 3 stars. Here's our 4s. Here's our 5s. We have trips. Here's our pictures of trips. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I put Vegas as a trip, right? And we have books and camera clubs and so on. I wanted to give everyone a framework to understand, like, this is what I set up for them when we first start working together. Because if we have a place to put things, we have a place to find things. And what I'm giving you is a lens through which you're going to see your own photographs to see, oh yeah, this belongs in landscape. This belongs in abstract. This belongs here. This belongs there. And we start to build things out. The whole goal of this is to get you to a point where you go from the overwhelm and the chaos to like having a portfolio that you're proud of. That's the whole point of this. And without all that time suck in between. So you're going to notice when I go to trips, for instance, that we have Las Vegas, but there's a funny little yellow thing here. So what that means is when I double click on it, I set this up ahead of time. But in every picture that's 4 stars and has the word Vegas in it, you notice I didn't keyword the word Vegas, right? And if you're working with me on our workshops, I set up all the cameras with a custom button. So if you find a photo you like while you're taking the pictures, you star it. And that gets built right into the system. So here's where it gets more interesting. When we have these smart collections, there's not much we can do with it. We can't move the images around. We can't share them. It's just there to auto-populate or auto-aggregate the images based upon the settings that we set up here. So that's cool. That's fine. A little helpful, but not really, right? I want a portfolio. I want to post the pictures from my trips. So if I go to portfolio here, you're going to see all the portfolios that I have, right? Now let's go to Automagic. What's that mean? I have another portfolio here. So let me show you what's happening here. If I just let's pick another one. Let's go to Norway, for instance. I don't think I have a Norway one yet. So let's work on that together and I'll show you what this looks like. I went each day, he shares in Norway. I just tagged it Norway. I just labeled the folder Norway, right? Just dead simple. You don't have to do anything more than that. You just, all right, I was in Lofoten, Norway. And for each day, I just did that. That's fine. But now I want to build a portfolio out, right? So I can right click. I can create a smart collection. And I'm just going to type in Norway. Now I'm going to say 5 star because I want this to be in my portfolio. I'm going to change this name, any searchable text, right? There's a whole bunch of things you can do. Any searchable text is just fine. And let's contain Norway. All right. Now I start having this in my portfolio here. Here's where it starts to get interesting though. If I go up to my library and plug in extras, you're going to see I have a whole bunch more than you probably do. One of them is Sync Smart Collection. Right? It's you can just type in any source and you'll find it. That's one of the options that it does. Now I can go in here, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of collections that are syncing, right? I have my trips. I have my social media. Here I have Norway. I'm also going to let's sync my aerial. Well, that's starting to get interesting. Let's click this and see what happens. Now, under my portfolio, here I have Norway. Now I'm going to click this little icon, and now I can sync this folder. So I wanted to show you what this looks like. If I go into any one of these days and I say, you know what, I really like this photo. I'm going to work on it a little, and I'm going to bring down the highlights and darken this down and warm it up, and maybe go to my color grading and create something that's a little bit warmer. Like, okay, that's sort of like interesting. Kind of like this, right? I'm going to make that a 5-star. That instantly gets synced to my portfolio down here in my smart collection. And that gets recognized inside of here as well, right? So your portfolio will build itself. The reason why I'm showing this right now, I'm trying to speed it up a little bit so you can see what this really looks like rather than just build all of it out. I want you to see what we just did here. Any day that you shoot, you can just name the folder whatever you want. Don't even worry about the keywords are. Just name the folder what you want. And I give you a structure. Is it a portfolio? Is it social? Is it your trips? Like we have our Vegas trip here, right? That's automatically going to show up inside of here. Once I sync everything up, here's our Las Vegas. And that gets posted automatically, right? So you'll find these photos on the website. I'm going to go back and let's bring up Norway as well, right? I can make public. It'll give me a little link. And when I open up that link, you're going to see the photos. So let's back up a second. I can star my images in camera. I can import them in one click. It's going to back them up. It's going to keep it on my memory card. It's going to put it on my computer. And I'm also going to send it to Backblaze. It's going to organize inside the right folder. It's going to keyword tag these images. I didn't tag any of these. It keyword tagged these for me. Sand, travel, waters, nature. This is automated. That's through a software called Xire. I'll show you that in a second. And then it goes into your collections. So what we do when we work together is I have you think about the types of images you want in your portfolio. And we create one. Maybe we do it around trips. We do Death Valley. We do landscapes. I was in Latvia. I was filming a course over there. We have Norway. We have aerial, right? And we create one for each thing that you think might be valuable, something that you love shooting. And when you start going through your images day by day, multiplying that year by year, and promoting your favorites to the top, you're going to start noticing a thread. Oh, I have a lot of long exposures, a lot of landscapes, right? So I come into here, I'm like, oh, well, these are great landscapes. Let me make this a little bit larger. I can come into all of these and just select all of them. Command K is a shortcut. I'm just going to type in land for landscapes. I just keyworded these landscapes, right? Maybe I have Northern Lights. I can keyword it Northern Lights, show me the pictures of Northern Lights, right? So I'm going to build this portfolio based upon the types of images that you like to see. That's critical. Whether you like portraits, whether you like flowers, whether you like macro. And we give you these bins that you can start putting in. So for here, because I imported a bunch of different trips, that's what this looks like. But what's interesting is these are not your standard collection. I'm going to sync this aerial as well. So let me show you what I mean. If I go down a portfolio down here, and I click on aerial, for instance, aerial DJI, anything with DJI is going to show up here. If I say aerial here, this is the proper way to do it. I want to show you both ways we can build this. Show me just my 5-star pictures and show me anything with the word DJI. And it's going to show up. That's interesting because it has it in the file name. Even if it didn't have it in the file name, look at this image. That's not in the file name. How come that's automatically showing up here? Because I took it with a DJI camera and it knows I took it with a DJI camera because it's embedded in the metadata, right? So it's going to tell you, oh yeah, this is shot with a DJI right here, the make. No problem. So I can say, all right, here's my favorite aerials. Here's my favorite landscapes. And I can start building this out. Here's my favorite landscapes, my favorite aerials. And on any one of these, I can click on them and it's going to tell me what collections that they happen to be in. Automatically, I haven't really done any work. I just set these bins up for you. That's all I had to do. So I hope you're grasping what this means. All right, so we've understood how we can organize our pictures. All right, one-click import. Backblaze is what I use. I set this up for my students. That's good. It's really the only unlimited backup there is. That happens automatically. I just have a little Backblaze icon there, and it's just going to back up all the time in the background for you, all of your files. They'll be safe and sound. Just give it a few months. Right? It'll take a little bit of time to get there, but it'll work in the background for you. Your images stay on your memory card, and your images are also in your all photographs folder, either an internal drive or an external drive, depending on how many images you have. Now your keywords, we're going to go back up here. These are all keywords that were automated. That's pretty cool, right? So when I import my pictures, I can go to all of my pictures and it's already filtered by 5 stars. I can just go to text. I can say, show me my sunsets. Sure. Show me, I don't know, pictures of a beach. It'll show me pictures of a beach. Show me Norway. And it'll show me Norway, right? Maybe waterfall or landscapes. I didn't keyword these. We can automate that. So this is a plugin that we do that with. I go to library, plugin extras. The same way I got to this sync smart collections here, that gives us a workaround because we can't sync smart collections natively inside of Lightroom. But down here, you're going to see I have Xire. And that's automatically going to keyword tag my images. So Xire search, but it also does some other really cool things. You're going to see down here. You can search by keyword. You can search by faces. You can search by people. It's a little bit different than what Lightroom can do. We'll go back up there for a second. But you have some really interesting ones. So if I say search by aesthetics, you're going to notice something. Let me turn this filter off so you can see all my pictures. Okay. I'm going to library, plugin extras, down to Xire here. And you have this one for search by aesthetics. I could say, show me the ones with the most aesthetic at the top. Look at the whole catalog and let's go. Now, what that did is put me down here in a collection. And if I go to the top of this collection here, I do have to change the sort order to custom order. And what that just did is put my best images towards the top. That's where it starts to get interesting. Well, how would I know that? Well, if I go down to my metadata here on the right-hand side, and I can go to all plugin metadata at the bottom, you're going to see this, Xire search with the number. And if I go to the next image, go to the next one, you should see that number go down. So what we just did was automate, basically, Aftershoot, there's a couple other softwares out there that are going to automatically try and find your best photos for you. It's doing this for us natively inside of Lightroom. We don't need to send it out to third-party software. And I work with those other softwares. They're nice and they're great. They're really good for events mostly right now. I'm speaking to them about developing, a criteria through which we can do a little bit better of a job trying to find the best photos for non-event style images, which is more of what I shoot. This is more of the type of images that I would shoot on a daily basis, right? Not mostly events. I shoot events too. But what this did was just give us a crack at the best photos right off the bat, right? And if I see 2 images that are close together, well, I'm just going to downgrade this one, right? So this way, when it shows up, I don't have to see anything but my 5 stars, right? But it's giving me an automatic aesthetic value. So we've automated the import of our images inside of our folder structure here. We have one parent folder. We've automated our keywords over here. So if I click on here, you're going to see all these keywords that are applied to these images automatically. And then we automated the collections as well. I've never seen anyone do this before. There's no workflow that does what we just did. Automate everything from import to share. at the camera level. So I can click on an image I've taken in Vegas, have it run through the whole platform, and then show up. So I put this under trips because it's not really like a portfolio shot. I just put it under trips. It's automatically going to show up here. These are already tagged as Vegas and truck. It's already backed up in 3 places. It's already keyworded. It's already edited. And it's already ready to share right at this link. And we can set this up in a way that we do this before the trip even starts. That's where the automation comes in. So there's really no excuse of how not to be organized, how not to get that clarity. And it's not because we're lazy. It's not because like, oh, well, I didn't have enough time. Once this is set up, this is what this is what I flesh out through our boot camp and the academy and all that. Once this is set up properly, you're set up for success. It's not just about saving you time. When we automate this, you don't have to make any choices. If you're not making choices from the organizational standpoint and we can automate that, it's not just about saving you time, it's consistency. Anytime I have an image from Latvia, anytime I have an image from Norway, which we're going back to next week, or no, we're going to Yellowstone next week. We're going to Norway next month, right? All I have to do is basically nothing. If you really think about it, I can name the folder, and I do, but if I just press one button on my camera, I have it synced to my phone, it's automatically, I'll show you this location again. I just come down to, I usually do EXIF and IPTC, but you can do it on location, and you'll see this is automatically built in. So this is in Svalbard, inside of Lofoten, inside of Norway. As long as I have the GPS built in, I just click one button for import, backs it up, imports it in the right place, tags it. And the reason why you have this work is because if you click on your name on the right here, it should say your name or Adobe. We have address lookup turned on. We also have face detection turned on. So it's going to reverse geocode that GPS coordinate, give me my information. I already have a smart keyword for my portfolio here called Norway. Just bring in every picture that has the word Norway, not the keyword Norway, any searchable text Norway, which is going to build in the GPS information. And then 5 stars. If I mark it a 4 or a 5 in my camera, this image shows up not in just this collection, but in this one. The main difference between this one and then this one is that this one I can move around, and this one I can sync with the cloud, with Adobe, with anybody. And I can share that instantly. So now your photos are going to start to find you. We can wait for that to pop up here. And the internet's a little bit slow. There we go. This populates with friends back home without me doing anything but hit one button, import. Because I already started in camera the ones I wanted to work on. I can at least do a 4-star and be like, okay, here's the few images I want to work on right away. Tag them as a 5. And that shows up in this smart collection, in this linked smart collection, and then in the cloud. It's backed up, it's edited, it's organized, all of it in a single click. That's the power of automation. All right, so I'll show you what these folders look like. So you believe me. I click on any folder and I have, here's pictures from Africa. Right, now you'll see these colors. If I right click, I gave you guys some options. I showed you this in the previous one, I believe, about how I can change the colors, change the metadata. And then we can make this, or I did this in the tips and tricks too. I can make this blue for travel. So for instance, I can click on this magnifying glass here and say, just show me my travel picture. And it's just going to show me my travel pictures. Right. And then depending on the work that you do, right, you could maybe say, purple for clients or something like that. I did just mostly travel for this. But I could go into a folder and there we go. There's our client, right? That was for Kelby. I was doing a course for them a while back. And then I can go back to all photos again. So I can instantly just get to the ones that I want that I've traveled for. Or if I type in Norway here, it'll just show it to me. If I type in, I don't know, Do I have Dolomites in there? Do I have Africa in there? Right? And it's just going to show me the pictures. Here's all the pictures from Africa. And if you go to all photographs now, this starts to come together because by default, I can just type in Africa and see all my pictures from Africa in one click. And I can say sunset, show me all the pictures of sunset from Africa, right? And then show me my favorites. There we go. I have a portfolio already in Africa. It's already built for me. This is every picture that has the word Africa and that has 5 stars. Think about doing that for abstracts, for macro, for portraiture, for pets, for whatever genre that you see yourself taking a lot of photographs in. My job is to get you from your photos to a portfolio that you're proud of and actually build it for you in a way that's meaningful and completely automated. That's what this starts to look like. Right? So what you do is when you go into these days, you're going to see I created stars here. I touched upon this briefly, but it's a really important part of this workflow. When we click on any day, let's go to a day maybe that has a few more images in here. We have the summit. Oh, we can go to the summit, the photo summit here, right? So this is last week or last month, whatever. We were at the Adobe headquarters, and we were doing these presentations, and you might probably notice some people there, Matt and Scott and Katrin, and that's Glenn lying down. He wasn't a happy camper for that, but we had a good time. So that was a fun experience, but I'm not going to share all these pictures. So I need to go from these 93 pictures to pictures that I want to see again, to pictures that I want to share, make this smaller. And then maybe pictures that I want to showcase. So if it's this one from Katrin, she liked that one, that's one I want to showcase. And that happens by default when I click on a folder. So from here on in, on the folder level, I usually filter by my 3 stars. It filters everything else away. And I have a filter called day default. And I do this for every single day, and that will eliminate anything I reject. So if I'm like, that's a reject, it goes away. That's not a big deal because I usually don't reject anything. I just promote. But it's going to eliminate anything that's not a video, or anything that's not a video, anything that's not rejected, and that's unflagged. And then I just have my stars. So I have 3 stars and 4 stars and 5 stars. So this is where people get confused, right? Because they're like, well, what do I choose? Do I do a star system? Do I do flags? Here's the thing. And I've done this for so many years with so many people. It's not just me, right? That's the perspective that I have is I've worked with so many people for so many years. I see what works, period. Not just works for me, but what works, period. And if we're going to look at our images, we're going to categorize our images. We want to find the best images so we can just see through the noise, see through the clarity, and just find the ones that are our favorites, our greatest hits. It's really hard when we have all these pictures to sort through, right? We want to get to our best. But turns out there's more than one layer. It's not just pictures that are best or no pictures at all, right? So we have 2 ways to do it. We either have the flags or we have the stars. Now the flags is what we call binary system. You're either going to choose whether it's picked or it's not picked, right? So everything that's not picked is hidden. You can reject it, but then you just have what's picked. The problem is this. There's photos you want to see again. Turn this filter off. And then we do the 3 stars, and there's the photos that we want to see again. I don't need to see 5 versions of the same image. There's just a few images here that I need to see. So if you have all these pictures of Glenn, I just need to see a few, right? So I go through and I choose the ones that I think I like the most. That's my round 1. So we're dividing between the ones we want to hide, the ones we don't want to see again versus the ones we do. But it's just for your eyes. These are ones that you want to see again. From there, which are the ones that I want to share? Those are my 4 stars. So now the stars mean something. It's not just, well, is this a 3 or is this a 2 or is this a 4? Who cares? Because all you really care about is 5-star images, right? That's not necessarily the case. The problem is that we always use stars as a meaningless number, and it doesn't make sense to do that. That's why I built this out here. So you have the images you want to see again, your 3s. You have the images that you want to share, your fours. Those are the ones you're going to edit. You're not going to edit your photos until you do that second pass. Why would you? You're not going to edit images you're not going to share. You're not going to share any images that you're not going to edit. So we just do that second pass of 4 stars. These are the ones that we can edit. And the ones that we want to post, the ones that we want to showcase, we do 5s. That's how we get from the chaos to the clarity. And then we click on any given year, you're just going to see your favorite pictures because we have a system in place that gives you that clarity. And you're one click away. Click that none button or you hit Command L and you can see everything. Command L, you got your greatest hits. And that goes for the year, that goes for the month, that goes for the day. And what I find is when I work with my students, it's usually like that 80-20 principle, the Pareto's principle. About 80% of your images you don't need to see again, actually. That's just the harsh truth. It usually winds up to be about 20% of your images that you want to see again. And from there, it's even a smaller number, and then a smaller number for the ones you want to share, the ones you want to showcase. So I built this for you guys. This is what I do for my students when we do the boot camp as well. Here's the ones we want to see. Here's the ones we want to share. Here's the one to showcase. That's how that works. If I go down here to the stars, these are the actual collections. These are the hidden ones. Now, what's cool is, what if I want to see all these pictures? I can sync these smart collections so that the ones I want to see, the ones I want to share, the ones I want to showcase shows up on my phone because I'm syncing these. You can't do that natively in Lightroom. You can't automate that process of seeing our favorite images instantly. If I mark something as a 5-star on my camera, that shows up here, and that will show up on a link that I just created, a little tiny URL here. And then I can get a domain. This is, I show this in some of the other things that I do. We'll get to it maybe on the last day if you guys have questions about it. You just buy a domain, point it to here. Here's my 5 stars, and this shows up on all of my devices without me doing anything but hitting a button. That's it, just the star. But the stars mean something. We need to have a system. We need a framework in place. So each day you go through your images, it automatically is going to sort by that day. And you just, whatever you did, you were in Death Valley. Okay, I was in Death Valley here, I was in Death Valley here, I was in Death Valley here. And then for that trip, I just come into my portfolio and say, yeah, I want to do a portfolio in Death Valley. That was a great trip. All right, show me a picture of Death Valley that are 5 stars. So my 5 stars are my portfolio. I sync that, and that shows up here. Here's my favorite Death Valleys, my 5-star images of Death Valley. Right? If I go back and I promote another image, here's a 5-star. Here's a 5-star. That's automatically going to show up. That's where things start to get interesting. Right? These are already added. Really, really powerful. So I just wanted to show that to you. And now that these are added to this collection as well, this collection is synced, and that shows up in the cloud, that shows up on your devices with you just hitting the star. You just label the folder, and if you have a GPS coordinate, this is going to show you Death Valley. You don't even have to label the folder. I like to label the folder. I like people to get in the habit of it because it just tells you what you did that day, right? Whatever it is. Because especially if there are events, they occur in time. It makes sense. I used to have people do keywords for events, but we already have the folder structure. Just put whatever you did that day, it's going to show up. Your portfolio will build itself. And then if you go to night photography, well, how would I find my night photography? Well, let's go to Norway. All right, let's find the pictures from Norway. And we have night photography here. We have the Northern Lights. This is such a cool place. It's one of my favorite places ever. We actually stay here when we do the workshops. It's not a plug. It's just a really cool place. The Eliassen. How would I find that, right? I could just type in Northern Lights. I can go to my keywords here. I can see, do I have a keyword for Northern Lights? No, but I do probably have a keyword for night photography. And if I don't, perfect. Let me show you this. Now we get to build this. Inside the what, this isn't who, this isn't where, this is a what. We have photography, right? I can create a new one. I'll call this night photography. I'll put that image in there. Right. And then I can call that long exposure. I can call that, star trails. I can do all different types, light painting that we do, so on and so forth. But if I come here to a portfolio here, I can just say, create a smart collection and let's build one for night photography. So I can feature this and show this with friends and family. Night photography, anything that's 5 stars and just has the word night, for instance, it's going to show up here. And then I go up to my plugin extras. I go to my syncs. I have to tell it that. I have to sync the collection. Here you're going to see, here's my night photography. Perfect. Now I have another bin right here that I can sync. If I come across any other night photos, let's see if I have, oh yeah, there's one right there. So watch this, Command K, just the first few letters, night photography, right? That is going to show up here. This isn't a smart collection now. This is a normal collection. I can move things around. I can sync them with my devices. I can share them with people, make them public. Instantly, your collections, your images will find you. All right, so what do we do from there? Now we know how to automate the organization. Now we know how to automate the tagging, the backup, the aesthetic value, deciding which one's a stronger image through Xire, right? And then automate these portfolios. Like I'm committed to every one of my students having a portfolio that they're proud of by the end of this year. And when we do the boot camp, we're going to give you that. That's going to be soon. That's going to be in next month. And then we have a 6-week program inside of that where I give you, like we lay it out, we work on this together step by step, and I'm alongside you every step of the way. We create these bins, we create this foundation, we create these structure. So you go day by day, 3 stars, the ones you want to see, 4 stars, the ones you want to share and edit, 5 stars is your portfolio. And this starts to build itself once we start labeling these bins. If you don't have that perspective, that lens through which you're going to see what you're looking for, these are landscapes, these are night photography, this is, my trips, Death Valley, then it's never going to get built. All you have to do is either one word on the folder name for where you were, or just have GPS, one or both. And then we build these bins for you automatically. When I go back to Norway next month, I don't have to think about it. Just mark it as a 5-star. This will show up inside of Norway. If it's a night photo, I keyword it night, it will show up in both places. And when I look on this collection, these are all the bins. These are all the collections that just shows up automatically. That's the power of doing that. So keywords, because I get, oh my God, we were talking about keywords, blah, blah, blah. What I just did is show you how we can almost completely eliminate keywords. Now, there's a few keywords that you might want to do. It's not going to get the faces perfect. So I can go up to, let's show you how we can automate these too. I'm going to hit O for faces. And let's do Susan here. Here we go. I tagged her once. I'll click on her face, and now it's going to find more faces. Just like that. And I can select a few pictures of her and hit OK. And it's going to get smarter. And I'll select a few more pictures of her. And it's going to get smarter. Right? Until it found all the pictures, even the goofy ones, of her. What you're not going to do is go folder by folder and just painstakingly keyword your images for the who, the what, and where. Hell no. We're going to automate that. Right? So we hit O for overlay. You can do this on your entire folder structure. Just that's why you want a parent folder. And then I'll do one for me. Here's a couple pictures of my goofy face. And I'll just select all these, hit the checkbox. Right? Now I'm starting to build this out automatically. What it's doing is looking for every instance of my face across my entire catalog. Why would I do this manually one by one? Right? So that's how you can automate the who. You're going to right click and you're going to say, any new face tags, any new images that I tag, and say, this is this person, this is that person. Right? Put new person keywords, that's what that means, inside of this who. So they automatically show up here when I label their faces. Right? That's why you have Susan, Cliff, and then Alex, the model there. Okay, so we have that built. Then you can do some really cool things. Right? Then you can go back and say, well, just show me all the pictures of Susan in one click, all the pictures have Susan in it, because I've automated, semi-automated, right? The face tags. You still have to approve it, but it's going to find every instance of her face automatically. And that's because you turn this on, face detection. It's going to do that every time you import your photos automatically. It's going to give you your GPS, reverse geoencode it, and also turn on face tag. Also auto edit and backup, do all these other things. Keyword, put in a collection, even give it a rating. But I can say, all right, all the pictures of Susan, but also have Cliff in it, right? And here'd be all the pictures of Susan and Cliff. If I just said Cliff, here's all the pictures of Cliff. You'll see a few more because I have my keywords in here. I have my, this is important, right? I have my metadata in here. That's cool. So what I can say is, I'll double click on my keyword and I'll say Clifford or Pickett, right? So now I can say just Pickett, or I can say ends with, or I can say keyword. So it's not just any searchable metadata, it's the keyword. And all the pictures of Cliff and Susan show up. And then show me just the best ones, the 4 stars, the 5 stars. And then you get goofy photos like this. This is how you find them. But I don't want to have to do that every time. Remember, I made you that promise the first session. And I'm going to do it again. We're going to save the absolute most amount of time anywhere you're going to find. There's literally no other solution that's going to do this. I've like painstakingly found every single way possible to automate things, including not just inside of Lightroom, but using third-party plugins to do it. But this is a really cool one. This is a very good use case. So let's say the holidays are coming up, right? And you want to say all the pictures that have you and your spouse or you and your whole family or whatever it is. I've worked with this CEO of a very large corporation that has to do with photography. And they hired me because no one else could help figure it out. And we were just organized this whole catalog. What took people years, I did it in like a month. And he's like, can I put this together for my wife? I want every picture of me and my wife for a holiday book. And I was like, yeah, we did it in like 20 minutes. Because I had face detection for both. Every picture has both them and him in it. We started the images, we're done. So we go to collection and we create a smart collection. So if it's something that I want to share, let's just show you what that looks like, right? Smart collection, every picture, let's say Cliff and Susan, and every picture that's a 4-star or greater, because the 4 stars, remember, those are the ones you want to share. 5 stars are your portfolio. Any searchable text contains, and I can change that to keyword too. I just know you can, I might as well show you what you can do. It's under other metadata. It's kind of hidden. And then keywords. And I'll say Cliff, or I can say Pickett. It won't matter either way, but I'll say Pickett. And then I can say it again. Other keywords, other metadata, and keywords. Here we go. And I can say Susan. And all the 4 stars that have both of us in them, right, will start to show up here. I could say Cliff, right, and say all, and they'll show up here. Fine. And then I can sync that collection and that shows up immediately. Next time I have photos that have keyword both of us and I star them, this auto populates. I can set up that filter to put this up top and that automatically syncs to the cloud and to all my devices. This is what it looks like. So the who is now automated. The what is now automated because we have this XIR plugin. Here's all the keywords that I didn't have to do. I can come over to here and just say, I don't know, elephant. Here's all my favorite elephant pictures. Just like that. Show me my 5-star elephant pictures. Show me pictures of every elephant, you know, with the sunset maybe. Here's a picture with elephants. I only have, you know, brought a certain number of images here. You get the idea. So we can automate through XIR the what. Now the where is a little bit interesting because we can automate the where through GPS. We just don't have GPS in all the devices yet. So that's why I recommend either syncing. I'm speaking to Lightroom already about putting a GPS tracker in the mobile device, in the mobile app. So you can have a GPX log, it's called, and then we can just automatically say where we were, put in the GPS coordinates for our DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, and then automatically have our where, right? So at the moment, I still tell people, yeah, put the where, right? So we have the United States, and we can put in Colorado, just to give you an example. And I just put in, here's Columbine Lake. Right? I didn't really need to do that because Columbine Lake is already in the geotags, right? But I want to show you, so that's what we do. So we can automate basically, and this is future-proofing your workflow. right? That's a promise, another promise I made for you in this workflow, because I've built it over so long with so many people. And I work directly with Adobe on this too. I know what's coming up. And I know keywords are going to be almost eliminated because we have AI. It's going to know what the picture's of. We don't have it internally at the moment. You do have it inside of Lightroom, the desktop and your mobile. You just don't have it inside Classic. We know the who is partially automated right through face recognition. And then where we're going to have GPS. So we're future-proofing this by giving you the perspective and the advice now. You don't have to go crazy with the keywords. Just each day, just kind of label what you did or where you were, and I can automate the rest, all of it for you. All right, so that gives you basically like a, how are we doing on time? Okay, perfect. Right. So I want to make sure that we clear that up. Now, lastly, here's where it gets really cool. Just being able to find your images. Now I showed you how you can automate the organization, backing up, edit, aesthetic value, stars, keywording, all of that. We can automate that, but what about how we share the photos? That's how we automated here. But what about ultimately sharing the photos, right? That's why I created this, social. So we know our 5 stars are the portfolio shots. They mean something. Every star means something, right? We have every one picture we want to see again. 4 stars, the second round, ones we want to share. And the 5 stars we want to showcase. I don't care about the other images. I don't care about the ones that are hidden. I'm not going to delete them. I'm not going to reject them. I'm going to do nothing. The fastest way to do something with anything is just simply not to do it. I'm going to show you the least amount of work possible we need to do. So I just promote the images. I don't reject them. Why would I do that? That's like going into a restaurant and looking at all the food that you don't like. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not going to look at all the food that I don't want. Let's remove this. Let's remove the hamburger. Let's remove the steak. I'm just going to look for the ones that I want. I just want to promote the ones that I want. It's a process of promotion. I'm going to get into that next session a little bit. So I just star them and I do the 3 stars, the ones I want to see again, separates the rest out. From there, second round, a second pass, like listen to a CD a second time, you have a better understanding of what the best songs are. Same deal. These are the ones that I want to edit, the ones I want to share with friends and family. And then I have the ones that I want to showcase. These are the ones that we post. So that's why I created this. The ones that we need to post, these are 5 stars. Then we have the ones that we already posted. And you notice that I have a pick flag here. And this is different. This is not a smart collection. This is a unique way of going about it. Because I have my real smart collections down here. You're going to see this gear icon. Here's the ones that are to post. These are your 5-star images. And then you can say, you know what? I want to post this next. I can't move it here, but I can move it inside these custom folders that I create with you to post. I want to say, I want to post this one next. And then I want to post this one. And then I want to post this one. That's another view of the truck camper, by the way. So workshop in Death Valley, that's out in Moab, right? Oh, there's so many good photos here that I want to post. Think about that. Your images will find you. The images that you want to post, your 5 stars will bubble up to the top naturally. Your collections and bins, your portfolio will literally build itself. Now we'll work with you every step of the way to get you there to do that. And then when it comes time to share, you have this one link that's going to show you all the pictures that you want to post. We can put them in order. These are all awesome shots. Oh, I love this shot too. Okay, so now I have an order. I'm going to post this one next. And when I do, I'm going to hit P for post. Right? And that's going to show up as posted because I have that set that way. Right? And so all the images that I'm going to post are going to show up here. And every organization, every structure, everything that I want to add is going to show up in the order. You can't do that with smart collections. But that's what that looks like. So you create this posted here. These are the ones that are posted. These are the ones that you want to post. But this is just the structure. Really, it shows up here. And I can sort this at the bottom, not just by capture time, but by added order. Right? And you can organize by anything you want. But this way it helps me keep track of everything. How did it get there? right? So I hit a P for post, and that's how I keep track of the ones that I want to post next. I post it, it gets removed, it goes to the next one. It's a little bit of delay because it goes from a smart collection to a regular collection. So that brings it full circle from the image that you capture and having it backed up, organized, edited, keyworded, tagged. You see that just moved. I didn't touch anything, I promise. And it's going to show up inside of posted. So P for post. It brings it full circle. And then you have this cache of all these beautiful images that are going to find you because they're 5 stars and they're going to show up here. And it's all you have to do is one word for the folder. And then really the most important work is this takes you to go through day by day, which ones I want to see again, which are the ones I want to share, and which are the ones that I want to showcase. And the reason why I do it intentionally in those 3 rounds is because it forces you to look at your images more than once. I'm going to get into that the next session as we talk about the process of discovery. It's a very unique approach to help you uncover the gold that you're sitting on, that all of us are sitting on. And I see this all the time with my students, and it blows their minds when I show them what we can do with their photos. If only we had that perspective and that lens to which to see them for the potential that they are, not for the images that they look at the moment, for what they could be. And that changes everything. It was a 4, we edit it together, we perfect it to a 5-star, and this whole process gets kicked off. And then it's up to you. You got 2 folders, the ones you want to post and the ones you already have. That brings it full circle, and your portfolio is already built. Just like that. So that's like a brief overview, Cliff Notes, of what this structure actually looks like, this ultimate workflow. There's literally nothing else out there that does this. When I was at the Adobe event, and they're the biggest people in the industry, we all kind of wrote on the board that our workflow and how we did this. And I wrote down in one click everything that happens. And they're like, how in the world? Everyone was like, what? Is that even possible? No, it's not possible inside of Lightroom. A couple plugins that I showed you about. And the structure that we have from import, it starts with your memory card. It starts with pairing to your phone, and they have an import, and that whole structure that we built. And then we build your smart collections, and we have a structure like we built last time, that foundation for your keywords, and having our secret weapon here with XIR, and knowing how to use the face detection, knowing that XIR will replace the what, and knowing the where is already being replaced by GPS. And everything comes down to just one click, put the memory card in, hit that import button, and that's it. Get around to that folder and just star those images that you like, and everything else will fill itself out, and your images will find you. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sure there's probably a few questions.
Oh, just a little bit, Cliff. First question,
Yeah,
first things first. We had some questions on whether you're going to get into any of the other Lightroom versions. Last time we talked about Lightroom versions, but we had some people wondering if you were going to
yeah.
be discussing just Classic or if you are going to get into any of the other versions.
We're just going to focus on Classic here. It's a very similar approach. So their design will work together. Actually, when you saw the collections that I built and posted to the web, that's using Lightroom on the web. You can actually, you can do a lot with that. You can edit your photos. You can, and I'll get to that maybe in the last time we talk about sharing more. There's questions around that. But that will allow you to work on your images remotely from anywhere. And then the mobile syncs perfectly. So that system that I showed you where we have that smart sync, that's going to take a smart collection built upon the criteria that I gave you, and then create another folder that mirrors that smart collection. That gives us a useful folder that we can sync with the cloud, that we can rearrange the photos, that we can share with others, right? Like a normal folder, because you can't do it with smart collection. Those pair with your phone. And so instantly all those collections that I showed you show up on my phone. And not just that, when I go through the images and I say night photography or landscape or Norway when we're out there, they just start to show up on my phone, right? So if I do one for Yellowstone, we'll be out there next week for a workshop we're doing. I can just have a collection and I can hit one button. It's literally like this button on my camera. It's going to mark it as a 4-star. It's going to show up as Yellowstone, show up on my phone instantly, and I can edit it, mark it as a 5 on my phone, and that gets pushed to my portfolio instantly, right? So it all works together. Like the only real decision is the Lightroom desktop versus classic. And I think that decision eventually is going to be made for us down the path, not soon, as there's some sort of convergence or the feature set is strongly in favor of one versus the other. For me, it's still more powerful. There's a whole bunch of things we can do inside of Classic that makes it in most professionals. Are going to be using Classic. But having that cloud option is nice. But I just showed you exactly how to get around the two biggest advantages of using the desktop, which is syncing your photos seamlessly up to the cloud and then also auto tagging your photos. Can't do that in Classic until you know this workflow. And if you do it the way I showed you, and this is something that I lay out again next month, right, in the boot camp and everything else we do. And I gave you guys tips, right? Just go to lightroom.university or lightroombootcamp.com. I have a whole interactive guide on this. And I have a PDF you can download about the workflow and a visual roadmap and an interactive thing that shows you all the tips and tricks, everything like that. It's going to give you the foundation that you need without compromise. And if you do one versus the other right now, if you don't use this system, it's a compromise because we can't sync our stuff to the cloud easily. We can't auto tag our images, which is really cool. Like this whole day was about how can we automate things down to just literally one click. You just have to use this workflow that I set up for you, and then there's no compromise.
Okay, two-part question here. How often should you be cleaning your Lightroom out so it doesn't cause your computer to shut down? And I was wondering, each time I try to import photos on Lightroom Classic, the mobile version photos keep loading. How do I get it so the mobile photos don't keep showing up every time?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Lightroom is fairly lightweight. It's just a catalog. It's just a glorified spreadsheet. You don't need to clean things out. Part of what maybe I should have emphasized this more today, part of like a big part of the workflow, and I'll be talking about this next session specifically, is finding your favorite images. Focus your effort on finding your favorite photos, not finding the ones you don't want to look at. And remember, I've done this with so many people. Almost exactly, it comes out to around 80% of your photos you don't need to see again, right? And even from that 20%, only like 10% of that are ones you want to share and showcase, right? Which is why we have the 3, 4s, and 5s. Why would you waste 80% of your time looking for the bad ones? Look for the good ones. You don't need a clean Lightroom out. All you want to do is your catalog gets pretty large. Mine's over 1.3 million. It's working just fine, right? There's no upper limit to this. It's just a database. But you want to optimize your catalog. There's a setting under the file menu, or every time you quit Lightroom, you can optimize it. There's a lot more like paths that we can go down here that I can't show you everything. There's just not enough time. I want to get the core stuff. You guys understand that, but you'd want to optimize your catalog upon quitting. And I set up the catalogs for myself and the students to remind you to do that every single time you quit Lightroom. And as long as you optimize your catalog, you don't have to worry about the rest. And what was the second question about?
Yeah, the second part of that is every time our viewer is going in on Lightroom Classic, the mobile version of the photos keep loading.
Yeah,
So doesn't want the mobile photos to keep loading every time.
yeah. So that's a feature, not a bug. What I set up for most of my students is we're going to put this thing on autopilot, right? And I didn't get to that today. I usually do a whole thing during the boot camp on it. I just have to kind of pick and choose a little bit. But under the settings inside of Lightroom Mobile, and you guys can email me a few questions about this too. It's not like I'm trying to hold anything back. We're just limited by time. You can go under settings and you can auto import your photos. And what's important is, remember that foundation I built the previous session, right? We have one parent folder where everything lives. You can go into your settings. I can walk you through if you guys have questions. You can go into your settings and you can choose to tell Lightroom where to sync. There's a sync settings inside of the preferences module. And you choose that parent folder, and there's a little button underneath that says choose subfolder, right? And you put it inside that same year, month, day structure, the way I have the import set up, and it perfectly mirrors each other, right? So, and if you're using an app, it's going to literally sync, like, what is it, James Bond or something like that, they would sync their clocks. I think it was James Bond, I don't know. But you'd sync the time clock on your phone and then your camera, do it to the best of your capability. And then it should all funnel inside of one place. You don't want to separate your iPhone photos or your Android or whatever photos, your mobile photos from everything else. They all belong in one place by the year, month, and day. Because then there's never not a place where they belong. If you do it any other way, you're adding more work for yourself, right? If you're going to organize your photos from your cell phone differently than photos from your camera, differently from photos from my drone, differently from photos that people are texting me or emailing me all the time than my student images, it would be a nightmare, right? We want to simplify this, and the best way to simplify it is to eliminate any decisions we need to make at all. We just bring it in by the year, month, and day. Same with your mobile device. Now, when it's cell phone, you have two options. You can either automate that through settings, say auto import. You just have to turn the app on because it won't work in the background. Apple doesn't let you do that. But the other way is to do is turn that off and just plug your phone into your computer and just hit that same import button. They both do the same thing. They both are just gonna, they're trained. This is, what I set up. I walked you guys through this, but this is what I do in the boot camp too. It's trained to just go to one place and one place always, which is your all photographs folder. Right. If I'm on my laptop a lot, so I have a new photographs folder I keep on my internal drive. But that new photographs folder is called new photographs for a reason. It's generic. Doesn't matter if it's 2024 or 2025. They're just new pictures. And so they all just funnel down into that one spot. And then your photos are next to your DSLR photos. Doesn't matter what camera you're using. It's less work. You don't have to make another decision. You can always filter it out. Say, show me all my iPhone pictures versus my DSLR pictures later through metadata if you want. And I can automate that smart collection. You just don't need to. And the advantage is if you take a cell phone picture, like say everywhere you take a DSLR picture, you're by a beautiful lake, you're by a cool mural, you like this restaurant, whatever, take a snapshot with your phone, right? Because then it has that GPS built in. It has the location built in. And then we can pair that together so we can build that GPS into your DSLR photos too. I just couldn't really show that aspect. There's a little bit more to that. But everything should just be in one place. It just simplifies it. And if that doesn't answer it, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to walk you through it.
Perfect. And Cliff will be back tomorrow, day 3. So if you guys did not get your question answered, I know we had some that we didn't get to. We like to give Cliff as much time as possible to get to the information, and hopefully some of these questions will be answered throughout the series. But Cliff always extends his email, and we always have him here anyway if you guys do want to get any of those questions asked. But again, if you have a question that we didn't get to, or one that you haven't thought of right now, he's going to be back tomorrow, same place. So tune in to day 3. Tomorrow, Cliff is going to be discussing the journey of discovery. So tune in for that. A huge thank you to Cliff for today and for doing this Lightroom series for us, as always, for another edition of the B&H Event Space, now in the books. Catch y'all next time.